Okay, welcome. This is David Pinto from Ecosquared. I'm doing a series of videos on what can be done with Ecosquared. And I'm actually concentrating on my own content in this one. I used to be a maths teacher, okay? And during that time, I developed lots of different techniques to help kids in a classroom, and we're talking about adolescents, self-organize. It's kind of like a self-discipline system, and it allowed people to self-organize, and we managed to achieve amazing objectives. I mean, okay, just to give you an idea, we managed to, with a class of kids, middle set, in the middle of Dunfermline, all right, normal state school, this class managed to do accelerated learning, and they did an entire 25-week syllabus in 5 weeks. Okay, 5 weeks. Okay, and 23 of them moved up a set as a result. They actually basically outperformed the neighbouring, the set above them. And 3 students moved up 2 sets. 2 sets. Okay, when I got that result, I was like, right, that's it. We found the Holy Grail. That's it. We've got it. It's fantastic. So I basically wrote down lots of the techniques in a book called Educare or Educare. Okay, Latin for, instead of educate, which is to put stuff in, educare is to bring out. So basically, teacher as a facilitator is encouraging them to come up with the results themselves to improve their ability to learn and effectively to listen to each other and to work collaboratively as a group. There's a massive hole in pedagogy, and it's to do with the social dynamics. And my original degree was social anthropology, and my interest was, or it was originally meant to be, I was meant to be studying mathematics. So I have interest in social dynamics and mathematics. Anyway, so I went into education to learn about, well, wait a minute, how do a bunch of people actually work together? Okay, so the end of this was Educare, Educare, and there's lots of different techniques in that booklet about, so for example, there was the silenceometer, or the noiseometer, and there were ways of classing classes, grading classes A, B, C, but it was a self-organizing thing, so any of the students could say this is an A or B or a C class, and therefore it determined the form of teaching that I was enabled to do. So it was a way for the kids to self-reflect on their behavior, practically, not in a kind of theoretical way and a verbal way and just, artificial way, but on actual behavior that was actually conducted by the class. So basically relating their individual behavior and the social effect. And we got amazing results. Okay, so another thing I did was I wrote up a booklet called Inspiring Change. And this is more to do with kind of anecdotes. They do go into the principles and a couple of the techniques that I used. But basically, it's the stories, the experiences that I actually had with students and how I interact with them. It's about being live. Anyway, all this, the result, I thought, after 5 years of teaching, I thought what's actually needed in a class, okay, is a particular role called a classroom coordinator. Okay, classroom coordinator. And a classroom coordinator, okay, and this is my first attempt to record this, to try and go out to a few people that I know, and hopefully you go, well, okay, that sounds interesting. Do I know any educators or that would be interested in this? And either to employ some of the techniques, but maybe to actually invite talking about it. Because this is one of the big faults that I found in terms of our educational system. It was great for me. I learned a lot at school, went off to university, learned a lot there, and then after university, you were on your own. Okay, and there wasn't any pool. There wasn't anybody inviting me to do various things. Did some teaching, enjoyed that, got some results, but then what? Okay, how does the system learn? And it doesn't really change very quickly, very easily. And so I got these amazing results in classes, but while I was working, I didn't have time to advertise what I was doing. I tried to send off a couple of letters to some newspapers, and TES, Times Educational Supplement, got no results. So I was like, okay, I kept on teaching. So eventually I quit teaching and tried to went to various conferences, educational conferences, but there were no teachers there. I mean, I would go to conferences and there'd be like panels, there'd be like 200 people in a room, a panel of people that would be experts, from the politics, experts in education, and students, but no teachers. It was very odd. So nobody was listening. So when I said, oh, I used to be a maths teacher, people go, oh yeah, and they just wouldn't be interested, because the man on the ground, or the woman on the ground, is, it's basically doing their job. They've been told what to do. It's kind of like the same problem. The teachers are doing that to the kids, and so that's what the system does to the teachers. So anyway, it was very challenging, and I didn't push it. Okay, so I wrote these booklets. I wrote this thing up, brilliant. But what do you do with it? It's on Lulu. It's a print on demand. What do you do? I don't know. Certainly, I'm not going to sell it. So it's only because I've come up with Ecosquared that we've got this now. What time is it now? Right. We've got this solution that monetizes it. So hopefully you've been given this with some money, because the person who's given this to you thought, well, sounds interesting. Do you want to talk about this further? Okay, and you're looking at this and you go, oh, possibly, I'll have a look at this. And the objective is to share. Okay, we're trying to share financially in a viable way, so that if people share this with money and they support me in this, it means we can raise enough money to effectively try these things out. Okay, or to come to a conference and to talk about it, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're raising the money for this to grow. It's not about me, it's not about pushing the thing. It's about going, okay, that sounds interesting, I want to explore this. Let's invite this growth, okay, to talk about it, to share some of the experiences, or to actually try these things out in classrooms. Okay, that's really what it's about. I mean, for me, I think it's about just trying these things in classes, and then you learn on the job. Okay, but how do you do that? And customary way of methodology is you copy something that's happened in a class. So for example, in the traditional method, if for whatever reason the system paid attention to me and go, oh, David's doing something interesting in this class, great. Could you write down what you do? Okay, methodology, blah, 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 stick it down, great. And then they try and copy it into another area. It doesn't really work that way. It has to work person to person, and it has to work bespoke for people. So the solutions that I came up with in classes were bespoke for that class with that specific group of individuals. And that level of sensitivity to respond to the class and work with the class, with the individuals in there to work collaboratively together, that's the skill of the classroom coordinator. So the way I think the methodology, and I saw it possibly happening, is that, for example, back then, I would work in a school with, 6 or 7 other people that were also classroom coordinators. And then over the year, they learned for themselves the techniques that work for them and also for the classes that they were in. And so it's this learning experience. And then at the end of the year, they split up, and they're not in charge, but they're leading in other schools. So they split up to different schools, and they get another 7. So if you kind of think about that, that's 7 to the power of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever. And by, within about 7 years, you've got everybody in the UK, every school having classroom coordinators. Okay, so that methodology, and how does the finances for that work, and so on and so forth. Well, again, I think it's Ecosquared. If we went to a school and say, right, here's the money, and here are the people that want to do it, schools would go, okay. They don't have to think about the budget. It sounds like a good idea, and it's facilitating the education that's going on. So, what, you may wonder, is a classroom coordinator? A classroom coordinator does one job. They basically follow a first-year class from subject to subject. That's it. Okay, so they're not a teacher, they're not a subject specialist, and they're not teaching anything. They're kind of like what are they called? Teaching class assistants, kind of. Okay, but they're not really for that either. They are interested in metacognitive skills, how to accelerate learning for individuals, but their primary task is to get the group to work well together. Okay, so the major disjunction between primary and secondary. Primary, I think we've got kind of right. Okay, more or less. The kids learn quite a lot. They work together very well because teachers have to get the kids to be self-organized. The top end, year 6, the end of primary school, the kids are, the teacher says something and the kids go around and do different things, do the job of collecting the books, putting the books away, tidying up the spaces, different people have different jobs and different days, and it's all beautifully organized, okay? It's a major skill that teachers have and primary school has. And then they go to secondary school. Okay, so they're at the top of their game in year 6, top of the game, responsible for the younger kids when they interact with them out at the primary, the playground, all this kind of stuff. And then they go to secondary school, and they're at the bottom of the pile, and they're told to all sit down, and they're a completely different set of rules, And basically, usually it's all about discipline and making sure that these kids don't get out of control. Okay, and of course, then they learn. A lot of kids start learning, wait a minute, this is a new system. How can I avoid this? How can I break the system? And so on and so forth. And so basically the system encourages, I think, misbehavior. However, the whole point about the classroom coordinator is it facilitates the engagement between the teacher and the kids. Okay, and effectively, really, it's engaging the kids. So what they're trying to do is say, right, so they just start adopting techniques. So for example, an obvious one is, okay, how do we show the teacher if we've had a good lesson? How do we show the teacher if we had a good lesson? I don't know, thank them? Okay, good. Okay, what do we do when people go out, to, I don't know, football ground, we've been to a football game, when something goes well, what do you do? Oh, we cheer. Okay, cheer. Okay, and what about if you went to a concert? Has there been to a concert? What do people do when they go to a concert? Oh, clap. Ooh, applause. Yeah, let's do applause. Let's try that. Okay, let's see if it works. And then basically, when they have a good class, they applaud. At the end of the class, they just go, and they're applauding. And they're like, can you imagine the teachers going, that's nice. Okay, and that feedback loop. Okay, so you're basically, that's a very simple one, but you want to have mechanisms by which individuals can demonstrate collectively the result of good behaviours socially. And basically, and the classroom coordinator facilitates that. If there are problems with individuals, they kind of help the kids deal with the problems themselves. So if a kid loses their self-discipline, then it's their friend that has to sort that out. If they can't sort it out, then it's a group. And if the group can't solve it out, then it's the whole class. And then if the whole class can't solve it, then the teacher has to come in and demand and effectively discipline the whole class. Okay, but that's almost like the failure state of the class. Okay, so it's pride in the class. Also different subjects, because of the fact you're going to subject different subjects, it means the kid that's good like at basketball, football, whatever the sport is, not so good at maths, starts working collaboratively with the guy who's good at maths. Okay, because they're good at maths and they're in a maths class and, there are points, there are prizes, so therefore, it's about making sure that the person who actually knows the maths is doing really well and helping the people who are not so good at maths and so that they're doing better. And so it's collaboratively. And so the kid that might not be so good at PE, brings down the team because they're physically not capable and everything else, but because they're good at the maths, they've helped them, and so they go, the person that's good at PE helps the people who are not so good at PE, and so on. And you get this kind of between the different subjects and arts and languages or English or DT or whatever the subjects are, religious education, and they're kind of collaborating collectively as a group, and they're realizing they're not so good at certain things, they're good at other things, and they're recognizing that in each other. The objective of a classroom coordinator, if it's working well, is that they become redundant. Once they've shown the kid a bunch of techniques to basically monitor themselves, mediate themselves, once that starts to happen, it becomes a kind of like a self-organizing system. And there are kids in that class that have got higher social intelligence than the classroom coordinators. And they're the ones that basically take more responsibility for making sure the class runs well. They're not leaders, they're just kind of facilitators, like, proto-educators, I guess, or spiritualists, or whatever you want to call them, all right? And they're helping the class work together, right? And so once that happens, the classroom coordinator takes less and less input, till eventually the classroom coordinator is being asked to go to another class in another school higher up the system, second year, fourth, fifth year, all right, that are having educational problems, that are having discipline problems, whatever, and they go in there and they try and help. And they try and help that class, further along the line or higher up in the system, until eventually they're, towards, the ideal is, all right, to classroom coordinators to be free from their classes by Christmas, okay, start to disappear. And by Easter, they're no longer engaged in that first year class because the first year class is doing so well. Okay, right, now that would be first year. Now when they go to second year, okay, because they've had that first year experience, they're getting into different groups in second year and all getting split up in different groups and everything else, and then they're on their own to do this. Okay, the kids have learned all this stuff by themselves in a group, and they've got the continuity of the same class in the whole of the first year, like the continuity in primary school. And then they're split up again, okay, but now they've got the skills to do the kind of who's good at what, how do we organise ourselves into groups, all this kind of stuff. It's really good, all right? And again, the classroom coordinator might pop in every so often to just make sure, just try to assist them, but effectively to get them to self-organise. If you have classes like that, by the time you get to third year, first of all, the accelerated learning techniques. Right, You might think, well, what about teachers? Will they like this? Well, and that's why you have to have a system where you're kind of inviting teachers to say, right, I'm interested in this. I'm interested in this technique. I would like to, in the English department there's one, in the maths department there's one. If you're going to seed this system in a school without having a classroom coordinator with experience, and an individual says, I'm willing to do it, and here's £30,000 and I'm coming to the school to do it by myself, all right? You want to have each member in the different departments saying, yeah, this sounds interesting to me, I like the sound of this, okay? So therefore it increases the chance of it working. They kind of allow the classroom coordinator to take that role of engaging the students, and they do effectively focus on the learning. Okay, the teacher focuses on the learning, on the specific subject and what they need to learn, and the failure state is a discipline. Okay, the failure state is discipline. And they see what the results are, and if it works, and there might be one or two of those teachers in different subjects that are like, old school, discipline, and they start going, wait a minute, this is quite interesting, or hearing that these same kids are getting results in other classes, or the kids themselves are saying, if we do all this work, maybe can we have 5 minutes at the end where we can do this game or activity, in English or maths, and they've thought about it, and they think this would be a good activity, and they start, and even the hardliners will go, teachers will go, oh, okay, give it a go, and they just sit back and watch. And if they start to see that the kids are actually self-organising, they see the educational worth, they start going, wait a minute, this is working, and they give more power to the students. Self-directed learning, all the project learning, all the stuff that we all know, that the educators have known for the last 40 years, 50 years, can start happening because the students are asking for it, okay, in a respectful manner. And therefore teachers become these human beings that are actually useful to them, okay, as they're learning. Educational experts, topic experts, okay, that's good, but also they're wiser people amongst those adults, and they start to realize, wait a minute, these adults are aware of stuff that we're not. Okay, it's basically that. We're just slightly more aware of stuff. So in a classroom, we're aware of what all the dynamics are, and we're aware of the other classes, and we're aware that in a year's time they've got exams, and we're aware that in 5 years, 6 years, they're going to be adults and the world's like, so we're doing our best for them, and they trust us. Okay, that's really the primary objective for the classroom coordinator, is for the students to start realizing they can trust each other and the teachers, and it starts working really positively, and it changes. Okay, and they start saying, wait a minute, this is working. Okay, we're learning how this is working. And that, a whole bunch of generation of kids that are learning how to do this, leaving school with that kind of experience, will be incredible. And what they need is basically Ecosquared. They need an economic that can enable them. So when they come out of school, they're entrepreneurs. Okay, they're already working together. They're already probably generating revenue. Okay, for the school and for themselves. And they're working collaboratively, and they're capable of working with other adults collaboratively in very powerful ways. I mean, that's what an educational system is. Okay, empowering the individual, not institutionalization. I've been yabbing on forever. If this is of interest to you, please, value, put in a comment and share this. Okay, this is the only way this works. It's my first version of trying to describe this thing. Share this with a bunch of other people that you think that might be interested. Stick in a bit of cash to do that. That's how Ecosquared works. And because it's valuable, I will be invited to do things, and we can get together and we can explore these ideas and how they can actually be put into practice. Because I've already put it into practice, okay, myself, but you might want to put it into practice, or you might want a whole group of people to try and put this into practice, or you just want to explore how this fits in with your understanding of how education works and learning and so on and so forth. Let's just take it further, okay? And we do that by sharing, okay, monetized sharing, ecological economics. Okay, that's good enough for me. My name's David Pinto. I'm founder of Ecological Economics. Thank you for listening. Good luck. God bless.